In this video, we're going to show you to install the drum brakes on your Hyundai Elantra located behind your rear wheels. Using a 21mm socket, loosen and remove your lug nuts. Now that you have your lug nuts removed, go ahead and remove the wheel and set it aside. Now with the rear wheel removed, you're going to locate these two Phillips head screws. If your vehicle has these, you're going to go ahead and remove those. You can use a screwdriver. We're going to use an impact screwdriver here to go ahead and loosen these. If you don't have them, it's not critical to the operation. Going to use our impact screwdriver here to go ahead and remove these screws. Once you remove this one here, you want to go ahead and remove the other one over there. For any reason, if these should strip out, simply use a drill. Go ahead and drill out the head of the screw, and you can remove the drum and then remove the threaded portion. And tap around the drum itself to go ahead and loosen everything up, and then slide that drum off. With the drum removed, go ahead and use some spray solvent to clean this down and get all that brake dust off. Now here we have our drum brake set up, and we have a series of springs all around here that we do need to disconnect. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by collapsing our shoes in, because our adjuster is located right up on the top here, and there's an adjuster wheel, and it looks like it's already out probably 3/4 of an inch, so we want to go ahead and compress that to make less pressure on our springs. It's going to make it easier for us to disassemble. Now I'm going to go ahead and use your flathead screwdriver and you go through a hole in the wheel hub here, and we're going to pull out on this little spring tab right here. This is your adjuster tab, and there's a little gear. We're going to go ahead at the base of that wheel and pull upward, rotating that gear with that little sprocket. And by doing this here, it's actually creating our brake shoes to collapse in. I'm going to go to the lower spring here, and the hooks of the spring go inward and around the back side of our shoes. Now I have this tool here. It's a simple flathead screwdriver with a little notch in it. This is perfect for grabbing a hold of these springs. Get in there and then push those out. Now the spring is the same length on both ends, so it doesn't matter how it goes back in or the position of it. Now along the top here we have an upper spring. Now the spring itself has a longer portion of the spring on the rearward side, and it has a shorter portion of the spring on the front. This is key when you go to reassemble. There it is there. Now on the shoes themselves are the actual retainers, and right in the center right here is a pin that goes through the back side of the backing plate, and they're actually notched or keyed here. So what we need to do is grab this here. You can use a pair of needle nose pliers or whatever you have for a tool to do this. You're going to push in, this is a spring clip, You're going to push in and rotate it so that the notches or the tabs on the pin line up with the holes, and then it's going to release that spring or the spring clip. So I like to hold in on that pin on the back side. You're going to feel the head of it. And then you can go ahead and pull this out and then pull the pin out from the other side. Now you're going to start to see the shoe starting to collapse. It's coming apart, which is fine. Here is the pin. You can let this drop down. There is another spring further down below, but this isn't going to go anywhere. Up top here, I'm going to go ahead and grab your adjuster and pull this out. And here is the wheel that we were moving. Okay, you want to pay attention to how this comes out. It's going to be key how that goes back in. You can see that the notches are different. I'm going to go ahead and remove the forward shoe, doing the same thing. Go ahead and press it on this spring tab. Hold that pin. Pull that pin out. Now on the rearward shoe, you're going to go ahead and pull this down, and that spring that we were talking about is part of your parking brake assembly, the spring for the cable. So we do want to remove this cable from this. Before we install our new brake shoes here, there are going to be 6 points of contact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll actually see the rub marks here. So I'm going to use a little bit of sandpaper. This is just a 120 grit sandpaper. And I want to remove any scaly rust. You want to make sure that this is smooth on each of these contacts. Now if there's no rust, you probably don't have to clean it. Ours has a little bit on there. Once again, just using a 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm not taking any metal away. I'm just cleaning up some of the rust. And then you can use a little bit of spray solvent on a rag. And just wipe down those points. After you're done with that, we're going to go ahead and apply a thin coat of a silicone paste. You don't want to glob it on, but if you do get a chunk on there, just go ahead and smear it smoothly with your finger on there, just to make that contact point a little slick. And take your pin. You definitely want to inspect these here, make sure that they're not rusted or corroded. If they are, now's the time to go ahead and replace them. Now when inserting these through the backing plate here, you want to go ahead and clock them either 12 and 6 or 3 and 9. It's up to you how you want to do it, but it's going to help you as far as the assembly goes. So push that pin through, hold it with one finger. Line this up. I'm going to go ahead and put my shoe into the wheel cylinder at the top. Push that pin through. Go ahead and clock that accordingly. Go ahead and take your tab here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reposition my tab here to 3 and 9 so it's horizontal across. Then I'm going to take this here, I'm going to go ahead and line that up, push that through. This is the tough part here. Kind of hold it in place, grab your pliers. You want to pinch, push it over that pin. Now sometimes that pin doesn't want to line up, but once you get it lined up, push it through and rotate. Then it locks into that groove, and that's good. Take the parking brake cable. We need to pull back on this spring with that little washer, so it just leaves that barrel end. And this isn't as easy when using gloves. You're going to slide that through. Once you get that cable end on, go ahead and release that spring. Spin that around. You want to go ahead and inspect your adjuster here. Now this is a key point. If you want to rebuild this, it's always a prime time to go ahead and do this. One side is threaded. You can unthread it. This end just pops off. And you can spray this down with some solvent. You can run it through your wire wheel machine depending if it's rusty. But you want to go ahead and prep this and then maybe put a little dab of anti-seize compound on the threads there so that this never rusts up on you again. So go ahead and do that and then we'll install it. All right, now we're going to take our adjuster. Now we've already lubed everything up. And you want to pay attention to how it goes on. Usually the outer piece here, the longer piece, is on the outside. And then we have the stepped unit right here. So I want to go ahead and feed this in. Now we can always adjust this afterwards, and sometimes you can put that adjuster in after. And we may end up doing that anyways. But now we want to go ahead and feed our pin through the back of that backing plate. And we're going to install the retainer the same way. Put that across. Line up that pin. There we go. Now when we remove these initially, both of these spring tabs were facing down. The larger portion was at the bottom, so we have that just the way it was from the factory. We have our shoe engaged into the top of our piston up here. And we have our adjuster in here. Now we do want to make sure that the pads themselves or the shoes are pushed in. I think this is where having the adjuster completely collapsed helps. With the upper spring hooked up on the rearward shoe, I'm going to go ahead and push this over. I'm going to try and get this installed on the other portion over here. Now we have our upper spring lined up, and it's going to take you a few times to try and get that spring settled in there. Just go ahead and line up our brake shoes here. Gently shift those around. Now on the old forward brake shoe, we have the adjuster tab here with a spring on it. This simply just wiggles out. Little pin. Now the pin itself inserts into the same hole as the old unit. So you're going to slide that over. And that goes in right in front of the adjuster wheel. Now if you need to, you can use a pair of pliers. It might help you a little bit, just to try and get that over in the position. Work that pin in. Now we're going to take our spring that hooks on that tab there. Now, just as a note, your adjuster will have a little bit of space to hold that pin there, to hold that little bracket. It fits in between that adjuster, so it'll kind of hold it in place there. Hook up the spring. And push it down and engage that. Let's install our lower spring. The lower spring just connects the two lower portions here. I want to make sure that your brake shoes are behind this lower base plate here. So my forward one is behind it, but my rear one is not. Simply slide that out and push it behind it. Now at this point here, with all of our hardware installed, we want to go ahead and grab our brake drum and adjust the brake shoes to fit the drum. Now in order to adjust this here, the first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and make sure that your brake shoes themselves are located in the correct positions. Number one, make sure that the brake shoe itself are on the pads, the contact pads at all around. You also want to pay attention to the spacing between the top of the shoe itself and the rubber boot. Make sure it's nice and even. Check the perimeter all the way around, like I'm running my finger around here. And you want to make sure that they're pretty much identical. Once you have that all set, go ahead and grab that brake drum, line up the studs, and slide that on. Now right now, we have ours about halfway on, and if you notice, we can wiggle this around quite a bit. That tells me that our brake shoes are not snugly fitting on the inside of our drum. At this point here, we want to go ahead and rotate our hub to the adjuster wheel. We're going to reach this up inside, and we want to go ahead and adjust this. We're going to rotate the wheel towards you, so down towards you. And what that's going to do is that is going to expand our brake shoes, pushing them out. Now you want to do this in small increments. Make sure everything is adjusted properly. Grab that brake drum, set that on again. We still have a significant amount of play. Continue to do this until there's a minimal amount of play. If not, just snug. At this point here, just sliding the drum on, it's pretty close. It's just a little bit of wobble there. And then go ahead and set that on. Give that a turn. You want to have a small amount of resistance, just a tiny bit, and that's where ours is right now. Now at this point here, if you do have the screws here, you want to go ahead and install those. Go ahead and grab your wheel, line up those studs, get the wheel installed. We're going to start all of our lug nuts by hand. Once you have them all started, go ahead and snug them down. Torque down your lug nuts to 85 foot-pounds. You want to go ahead and do this in a crisscross pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.